Before Theo could muster a response, two security officers stepped forward. Officer Ramirez's voice was measured but authoritative. "Ma'am, please come with us. We just need to ask you a few questions." Theo's chest tightened, not from fear, but from the sheer disbelief of the situation spiraling out of control. Reluctantly, she gathered her belongings and followed the officers into a narrow corridor that led to another small cold room. Inside this new room, the atmosphere was even more oppressive. The door closed behind her with a resonant click, isolating her from the ambient noise of the terminal. Her fingers tapped a silent, anxious rhythm on the tabletop as she tried to steady her racing thoughts. "This is absurd," she muttered under her breath. "I'm just trying to board my flight." Officer Chen flipped through her passport with methodical precision, his eyes occasionally flickering up to gauge her reaction. "We're just following protocol, ma'am," he said, the word protocol hanging in the air like a flimsy justification for what felt more like an unwarranted interrogation. With every minute that ticked by, now 3:22 p.m., the weight of unspoken bias pressed down on her, each second fueling a growing fire of indignation. Meanwhile, just outside the confines of that stark room, a new development was unfolding. At exactly 3:15 p.m., a sleek black Tesla pulled up to the curb. Elon Musk, the world's richest billionaire and the husband of Theo Grimes, was en route. His phone buzzed incessantly with messages and social media notifications. "There's something going on at LAX," one alert read. As Elon scanned the updates, his face changed from casual curiosity to intense concern. A short video clip, already circulating online, showed Theo being surrounded by security officers, her calm demeanor juxtaposed against their aggressive behavior. Elon's eyes narrowed. "Driver, please hurry," he commanded, his tone cool yet resolute. Inside the security room, time seemed to stretch indefinitely. Theo sat silently, her eyes locked on the blank wall, each tick of the clock a reminder of the injustice unfolding. She felt a mix of humiliation and defiance as she realized that her mere presence had sparked an unprovoked controversy. At 3:31 p.m., Miss Allen re-entered, her voice measured yet strained. "We're still working on clearing up the situation. It shouldn't be much longer." Theo's patience, already fraying, snapped as she asked, "How much longer? You've had all my information for almost an hour now." The supervisor's reply was a nervous mumble about procedures before she excused herself, leaving Theo in an uncomfortable limbo. The sound of footsteps, the distant murmur of a crowd outside, and the echo of her own thoughts created a cacophony of internal conflict. Theo couldn't help but wonder, was this about her boarding pass, or was it something deeper, an unspoken bias against who she was? Outside the room, the atmosphere in the terminal had transformed. Nearly 200 passengers now congregated near the gate, their eyes fixed on the drama unfolding behind closed doors. Smartphones flashed, live streams began, and hashtags started trending in real time. One passenger, a middle-aged man with a kind smile, leaned over to his companion and whispered, "This isn't just about a boarding pass, it's about treating people with decency." His words, though soft, resonated with everyone within earshot. At 3:40 p.m., Elon ordered that the security footage be reviewed immediately. Miss Allen retrieved a laptop, and within minutes, a grainy video began to play on the screen. The footage, time-stamped from 3:10 p.m. to 3:40 p.m., clearly showed Theo sitting quietly near Gate B22 before being approached by Mr. Baxter. Every unnecessary gesture, every moment of undue escalation was captured in stark detail. As the footage played, a murmur of realization swept through the gathered crowd. "You held my wife for 32 minutes, Elon stated firmly. 32 minutes that none of us can get back." The evidence was irrefutable. Social media records indicated that the video had already amassed over 5,000 likes and was rapidly trending, with hundreds of comments demanding justice. Miss Allen's excuses crumbled under the weight of public scrutiny. "I apologize on behalf of the airport," she said, her voice trembling slightly as she addressed the assembled crowd of nearly 300 people. "This incident was entirely our fault. We failed to uphold the dignity and respect that every passenger deserves." Her apology, though measured, carried a note of genuine remorse. The tension in the room slowly dissipated as the crowd's murmurs gave way to spontaneous applause. Theo, though visibly shaken, managed a faint smile. A sign that, at least for the moment, justice had been served. Shortly after the public apology at 3:55 p.m., Theo and Elon were escorted to a quiet lounge away from the prying eyes and incessant flashes of cameras. In the privacy of that space, the couple exchanged quiet words, their voices low yet imbued with profound resolve. "I never imagined that something as routine as flying could turn into a battle for my dignity," Theo said softly, her eyes reflecting both pain and determination. Elon nodded, adding, "In this digital age, every moment is recorded, every action scrutinized. It's a reminder that while technology is meant to protect us, it can also expose the flaws in our systems." They discussed the broader implications of the incident. Just this year, Elon noted, there have been over 1,500 reported cases of similar mistreatment in major airports across the country. "It's clear that our systems need to be re-examined." Theo agreed, emphasizing that the issue wasn't about privilege, it was about human decency. "Respect isn't earned by status or wealth, it's a fundamental right that each of us should receive," she said. As the couple prepared to board their rescheduled flight, the atmosphere at Gate B22 had shifted dramatically. Where moments before there had been tension and division, now there was a palpable sense of unity. Passengers offered kind words and sympathetic glances. One woman, cradling her toddler, approached Theo and whispered, "I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Thank you for showing us that standing up for yourself matters." Theo's heart warmed at the genuine compassion in that simple statement. In the final moments before boarding, Elon and Theo paused at the gate. Elon turned to address the crowd in a calm yet impassioned tone. "Let this incident remind us that accountability is not a privilege, it is our collective responsibility. Today we witnessed that even the most rigid protocols must bend to the undeniable truth of human dignity." His words, echoing through the terminal, resonated with everyone present. With that, the couple walked hand in hand toward the boarding gate, their steps measured and resolute. The ordeal had transformed a routine journey into a powerful statement about respect, equality, and the need for systemic change. As they settled into their seats on the plane, Theo reflected on the day's events, how a moment of injustice had sparked a conversation that might just ripple out to inspire broader change. Back on the plane, as the engines roared to life and the aircraft taxied down the runway, Theo took a deep breath. The experience, though harrowing, had reaffirmed her belief that every setback can be transformed into an opportunity for advocacy. The incident wasn't just a personal affront, it was a call to action for everyone who had ever felt marginalized or dismissed. In that moment, as the plane soared into the sky, she felt a surge of empowerment mingled with a renewed sense of purpose. Elon, seated beside her, reached out and squeezed her hand. "We've made a difference today," he murmured. "I hope this serves as a lesson for all of us, and for those who enforce these procedures to remember that respect is non-negotiable." Theo nodded, her eyes glistening with quiet determination. "Every time we stand up for what is right, we change the world, even if it's just a little bit at a time." Their conversation lingered in the quiet hum of the cabin as the plane ascended, leaving behind the turmoil of LAX and heading toward new horizons. The incident would go down in the annals of airport mishaps, a stark reminder that even in a world dominated by technology and protocols, the human spirit remains the ultimate arbiter of justice. As we reflect on this dramatic series of events, it becomes clear that our modern world demands both accountability and compassion. The ordeal faced by Theo Grimes, and the resolute intervention by Elon Musk, underscore an important lesson. In every public space, in every interaction, we have the power to demand respect and uphold human dignity. In our fast-paced lives, where every minute counts and every action is recorded, let us remember that true strength lies in standing up for what is right, even when the odds seem insurmountable. In our daily lives, whether traveling for business, running errands, or engaging in public dialogue, we must not allow bureaucracy or outdated protocols to strip away the inherent respect every person deserves. The courage shown by Theo and the decisive action by Elon remind us that our voices can spark change. Let this story be a clarion call to all of us. Never let injustice pass silently, and always strive to be the catalyst for a more compassionate, inclusive society. Before we close, I'd like to share a few personal thoughts. In today's complex and interconnected world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by systems that often seem indifferent to individual dignity. Yet, Moments like these show us that every act of standing up for oneself can inspire a wave of change. Whether you're in a position of authority or simply a concerned citizen, remember that respect is a right, not a privilege to be granted by others. Let this story inspire you to advocate for fairness and hold every institution accountable for treating every individual with the care they deserve. Thank you for following this journey with us. If this story resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation and work together to create a world where dignity and respect are the norm, not the exception. And don't forget, click on the video on your screen for more inspiring stories, and subscribe to our channel for tomorrow's episode. Your voice matters, and together, we can make a difference. It was 2:45 p.m. on June 12, 2019, when Theo Grimes arrived at Terminal 4 of LAX. Amid the steady flow of over 300 passengers, and countless announcements echoing in the cavernous halls, Theo exuded a calm confidence. Dressed in simple jeans and a tailored blazer, she had deliberately chosen a low-key look to avoid the prying eyes that often accompany her name. Yet fate had other plans. Seated near Gate B22, Theo attempted to lose herself in the anonymity of the bustling crowd. She refreshed her social media feed, just a casual habit, while waiting for her first-class boarding call, hoping nothing would disrupt her quiet journey. Just as the final boarding call resonated through the speakers, a stern voice cut through the ambient din. "Excuse me, ma'am," said Mr. Baxter, a gate agent with a hawkish stare and an unmistakable impatience. His tone was laced with suspicion as he approached her, eyes fixed on her boarding pass. "Are you sure you're in the correct boarding group?" he inquired sharply, his voice carrying over the hum of anxious travelers. Theo looked up, startled yet composed. "Yes, I am," she replied, her voice even and courteous, betraying none of the inner turmoil that was beginning to stir. "I have a first-class ticket," she added, maintaining her dignity despite the invasive scrutiny. Mr. Baxter's gaze shifted from her boarding pass to the subtle hints of her attire, her relaxed style and modest accessories, and then back to the document. "May I see your ticket, please?" he insisted, the firmness in his voice growing more pronounced. Theo hesitated for a moment. It wasn't the first time she'd been singled out for reasons that remained unclear, but something about his tone suggested that this was not merely a routine check. Reluctantly, Theo handed over her boarding pass. The screen flashed her name, Theo Grimes. For a moment, Mr. Baxter's expression softened, only to be replaced by a cold, hard line. "Please wait here," he ordered curtly before turning to summon Miss Allen, the supervisor known for her unyielding adherence to protocol. Within minutes, Miss Allen joined them, flanked by two uniformed security officers, Officer Ramirez and Officer Chen. The atmosphere shifted palpably as whispers rippled among the onlookers. Over 150 passengers, some recording on their smartphones, watched the scene unfold with growing curiosity and concern. "There appears to be an issue with your ticket," Miss Allen said, her tone measured but uncompromising. "I'm afraid you'll need to step aside while we verify the details." Theo's mind raced as she followed the directive, her heart pounding in her chest. Why was this happening now? She had flown countless times without incident, and yet here she was, singled out under the guise of irregularities in the system. As she moved to a quieter corner of the terminal, her eyes met those of several sympathetic passengers. A middle-aged woman, clutching her toddler, whispered to a nearby traveler, "Is it really necessary to treat someone like her this way?" The murmurs grew louder, each voice adding to the rising tide of discontent. Inside a small, sterile room just off the gate, Theo found herself seated at a plain metal table. The fluorescent lights cast a cold glow over everything, and the room's silence was broken only by the occasional shuffling of papers and the persistent tick of a wall clock, now reading 3:10 p.m. Theo's thoughts swirled as she tried to reconcile the calm exterior she maintained with the growing storm inside. What could possibly be wrong with my ticket? She wondered silently. Miss Allen soon re-entered the room, her expression impassive. "We're unable to verify your identity through our system," she stated, avoiding Theo's gaze. "Do you have another form of identification?" Theo frowned, realizing her passport was safely packed away in her carry-on. "It's in my bag," she replied, incredulous. "You didn't even check it." Miss Allen's demeanor faltered for a moment, as if caught off guard by the logical response. But instead of backing down, she doubled her insistence. "Ma'am, This isn't just about your ID, she said, her voice rising slightly. There are procedures we must follow. Theo's frustration mingled with disbelief. Procedures? I've flown through this terminal dozens of times without issue, she retorted softly, yet firmly. Mr. Baxter interjected, his tone attempting to remain neutral. We've had some irregularities lately. You're not being singled out. But the glint in his eyes suggested otherwise. The tension in the room mounted as more passengers began voicing their discontent. A few murmurs escalated into audible protests. One man even remarked, "Why is she being treated like a criminal when all she has is a valid ticket?"